housing for a moment. That's quite a segue, but we were talking about interest rates a little earlier. Now in New South Wales, foreigners could be forced to pay more tax to buy property in the state. This is under a proposal being floated by the Treasurer. Joining me live now is the Fairfield City Mayor, Frank Carbone. Frank, great to see you. It's been a while since we spoke, actually. There's a lot of ideas being thrown around. You've spoken in the past about how many new migrants you've settled in your area over the last couple of years. What do you think of this idea?
Well, this is something actually I proposed at a recent forum, and that is that we've got to understand the difference between migrants and foreign buyers. Foreign buyers actually purchase homes. They're not Australian citizens. They might simply have a visa to stay here for a short time, and they occupy these homes, or they purchase these homes. They might stay empty. There's thousands of them every year that get purchased, and in realism, they're actually buying these properties to actually make a few dollars to ride the wave of the housing profits, if you want, in cities like Sydney and Melbourne and other major cities. And we shouldn't be allowing foreigners to purchase homes just so they can make a few dollars. Homes are here for people to live in, and I think they should restrict foreign ownership of homes, especially during a housing crisis, or at the very least increase the taxes so it's just no longer viable, or ring fence the major cities where you currently have a housing crisis. Yeah. Because that can only mean more homes for Australians, and it can only mean reducing the pricing of housing, not increasing it.
Yeah, it's really important there, and thanks for doing that, distinguishing between foreign buyers and new migrants. New migrants are looking for a home to live in, and they're often buying and living in it. You're talking about foreign investors, essentially, aren't you, that aren't living in these homes? Right.
Yeah, and it's all those things. So you've got foreign investors that put pressure by buying new homes that actually can be occupied by locals, and they're only buying it to make a few dollars. But then you also have really high level of migration, which we actually talked about before, and I think that needs to be brought down. I mean, the one thing the New South Wales government has been really good at is putting taxes. So it doesn't surprise me that they're actually put a tax.
Seems like a backhanded compliment there, Frank, to be honest.
Well, they're very good at that, right? I've got to say, because actually their housing policy isn't a housing policy at all. It's actually a third world planning policy, what they're actually proposing by rezoning the whole of New South Wales. It's actually a taxation policy, because what's going to happen through the proposals that the Minns government is proposing is the Valuer General will actually increase all the valuations on paper of everyone's homes. So in essence, the New South Wales government will collect more taxes through their land taxes. This is what this is all about. Because if you want more homes, you've got to make them more affordable, not more expensive, Laura.
Well, it's also about supply and demand, isn't it? If you build more homes, that means demand is going eventually. I mean, it's not going to happen for decades.
But the New South Wales government isn't building one new home. Actually, the New South Wales government's built less homes of any government in Australia when it comes to social housing.
We're talking about social housing, but then the general market's a different thing altogether, right?
But we have the allegations by the government there's not enough councils are not allowing enough homes is complete rubbish. That might be in the eastern suburbs, and I support what they're doing in the eastern suburbs. I'm not against that. I can assure you, Laura, the TODs weren't invented with the New South Wales government. We've been building high-rise all across Western Sydney. If you go from Parramatta to Campbelltown, all those areas are already zoned 24 floors. What we are against is putting just housing for a third world policy. And all they're doing is rezoning the whole state so they can increase the land tax grab. Because in Fairfield alone, which is a small city, we have 20,000 homes ready to go to be built. The fact is that no one's building because it's not affordable. And if you look at the interest rates, if you look at history gives you the facts.
Yeah, how does the federal government fix that? You know, if the numbers don't stack up for developers, we're in a real pickle here.
Well, developers are leaving the housing market in droves.
That's right.
Because quite simply, it's not because there's not enough supply for them to build. It's too expensive to build, and there's too many taxes. And at the same time, we have very high interest rates. If you go back in 2008 and 2009, we were building a lot of homes. Interest rates went up, migration went up. That caused inflation, so interest rates went up. And we went down from building 250, 300,000 homes to actually 100,000 homes. Yeah. And since 2009, we've gone all the way up to building 500,000 homes per year in this country. But what people are not talking about is that the interest rates dropped and the migration stabilised. Now what we've got in 2023, serious increase in migration, high inflation, high interest rates, Who can afford to buy a home? And you have the federal government that's got a tax called the GST, which means the more expensive a house gets, the more tax intake they take, and the more expensive it makes for first home buyers. As I've said before, take tax off the homes and give our children, our first home buyers, a chance to own a home.
Then there's a couple of things you mentioned there. Migration, not in the state government's control, and they have been pushing around the edges. Inflation and interest rates, also out of the state government's control. What they do have control over is taxes. And I put to you, Frank, that is still pretty fringe when you look at the base costs, the supply chain issues, what inflation has done to the cost of materials.
The reason why people go and look at the facts, the reason why people are not building, interest rates are too high, people can't afford to borrow, people can't afford to pay the prices.
But what I'm saying is that's not the fault of the state government. So, how do you get over that?
I agree. It needs to be collaboration between local, state, and federal. I agree all of that, and I'm happy to put my money in my mouth, and I'll be making a major announcement very soon about it because I want to show them up. I want to show how bad our state and federal governments are, how much taxes they reap off the misery of first home buyers. And as a local government, as a local mayor, if I want to preach that way, I should actually take the lead. I'm going to do that shortly. But the point I want to make... Hang on.
I don't want to bury the lead here, Frank. Major announcement. My ear's pricked up.
We'll do that. We'll do that very soon, right? So the point I want to make is...
or in the next couple of weeks?
In the next 2-3 weeks. Yeah,
okay.
We're working through some things at the moment.
Okay. You just...
But the point is, we all want to help first home buyers.
Will you step up perhaps to federal politics, Frank?
No, I'm just stepping up for my community. I'm stepping up. I mean, the federal election's only, how long away is it? Who knows? We don't even know. There's a major redistribution happening at the moment. We don't know.
They're right.
But let's see what happens. At the moment, all I'm saying is I see local communities struggling. People can't afford to pay rents. They can't afford to put a roof over their heads. The government's got this wrong. They're profiteering. In Canada, they rebate the GST, they rebate the taxes. Here they give you a paltry $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 off. But with one hand, but what they're not telling you is they're charging $150 with the other. Make it more affordable for first home buyers. Give our children a chance, Laura. It's our children we all worry about, and housing should not be taxed, just like we don't tax water, we don't tax food, the essentials, that should not be.
So will you run for federal politics and take the fight to Canberra?
I'm fighting from Fairfield. Who knows? I've got to Canberra very often, but that's something to consider later on. And I work very closely with Daly, as you know. We already have our federal party. We're talking through a few different things. But look, ultimately, it's all about my community. That's not the reason why I'm doing this. I'm doing this because I want to shed some light that it's Western Sydney that actually provides most of the housing. 65% of the housing under the New South Wales government documents will already go to Western Sydney. That's where people are going to come because that's where it's more affordable. What I'm saying is let's make it more affordable. Take the taxes away.
Okay.
Let's work together. Let's provide housing. And Laura, one of the things that the government won't say is that Fairfield Council, which is a small council, we have 8,000 homes rezoned that's been sitting on the Department of Planning's desk for 3 years. They haven't done anything about it. They haven't approved it. And many other councils in Western Sydney are in the same position. So for them, it just seems like it's more about the tax intake than about putting a roof over someone's head.
Are you going to come back on AM Agenda and make that announcement?
We'll see. We're working through it now. Look, we are working through some policy as a local council.
All right.
Because we think that we can take a lead rather than just being reactive. And I think if we want to talk about things, we should take a lead. We should show up the other levels of government. So we'll do it very soon.
Okay.
I'm happy to come on once I announce it.
After? Well, you've just promised our viewers and me
I need the council endorsement before I can announce it.
Oof, okay. Well, we'll see you soon. We'll hold you to it, Frank.
We work very collaborative here in Fairfield. Look at the councillors, look at the mayor.
Okay. All right, good. We'll see
Once I get the tick, we'll do that.
All right. Keep us posted. Thanks so much, Frank.
Thank you.